Have you ever sat down at the scores table and felt that little bit of pressure? You know, that mix of excitement and don't mess this up. Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to demystify one of the most vital jobs in the game, being the timer. This is your guide to mastering that clock with total confidence. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about just how important your role is. Then, we'll get into the actual rhythm and structure of a game. After that, we're diving into the real nitty-gritty, starting and stopping the clock, and of course, handling timeouts. And we'll wrap it all up with a super simple checklist so you are good to go for tip-off. Okay, so what's your job really? I'll tell you what it's not. You're not just a button pusher. You are the official keeper of the game's pace, its flow, its integrity. Every single second is in your hands, and your focus is what makes sure it's a fair game for everybody out there. No, seriously, let that sink in. For the entire game, you are the master of the clock. It starts when you say it starts, and it stops when you say it stops. Yeah, it's a huge responsibility, but trust me, by the end of this, you are going to be more than ready for it. To control the clock, you first have to understand its rhythm. You got to know the official structure of the game. Think of it like the heartbeat that the whole game follows. A standard game is broken down pretty neatly. You've got 4 10-minute quarters. In between quarters 1 and 2, and then again between 3 and 4, there's a quick 2-minute break. Halftime, well, that's the big one. That's a 20-minute break. And, if things are tied up at the end, we go to a 5-minute overtime. Now, your job isn't always a silent one. You need to give everyone a heads up during the breaks. During that long 20-minute halftime, you'll hit the buzzer when there are 3 minutes left, again at 1 minute, and one last time when it hits 0. For those shorter 2-minute breaks, just a warning buzz with 1 minute to go is perfect. These signals are absolutely key to keeping the game moving. All right, here we go. This is it. This is the heart and soul of being a great timer. It's that constant dance of starting and stopping the clock. Your focus right here, it's everything. Let's just boil this down to its simplest form, okay? You start the clock the second the ball is legally touched by a player on the court. And you stop it the instant you hear a ref's whistle. That's it. A touch starts it, a whistle stops it. Now, let's break that down a little more. So, what does legally touched really mean? Well, think of it in 3 main situations. First, the opening tip-off. The moment a player taps that ball, boom, the clock is running. Second, after a missed free throw that's still live, the clock starts as soon as anyone on the court touches it. And third, on any throw-in from the sideline, you start the clock the second a player inside the court touches the pass. Now, the great news is you don't have to guess. The ref is your best friend here. They're going to give you a super clear downward chopping motion with their hand. That's your signal. You see the chop? You start the clock. It takes all the guesswork out of it. Stopping the clock is, of course, just as critical. Obviously, you'll stop it when it hits 0 at the end of a period. But most of the time, your cue is going to be your ears. You hear that whistle blow for a foul or a violation, your hand should be hitting that button instantly. You also stop it if the shot clock goes off, or in that specific case where a team that just got scored on had already asked for a timeout. And hey, communication is everything. The second you stop that clock, you shoot one open hand straight up in the air. This signal immediately tells everybody, the refs, the coaches, the players, that time is frozen. It's a really simple move that brings a ton of clarity to the game. Okay, let's switch gears to a different kind of timing. When a timeout is called, the main game clock is paused, but your job definitely is not. You now have a totally separate clock you need to manage. And just like everything else, this all starts with the referee's signal. An official will make a really clear T shape with their hands. Don't do anything, don't start any timers until you see that specific gesture. That's your official trigger. So for every single timeout, it's a simple 3-step process. Easy. 1, see the ref's T and immediately start a separate 45-second timer. 2, at the 35-second mark, give them a quick warning buzz. And 3, when the timer hits 45 seconds, sound the final buzzer. That's it. That's the whole timeout procedure. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. So let's just bring it all home with a final checklist. These are the key things you want to have locked in your brain before you even sit down at the table. Let's just run through the big 5 one more time. Number 1, know the game's time structure, your quarters, breaks, and halftime. 2, start that clock the instant a player touches the ball in bounds. 3, stop the clock on any official's whistle. 4, signal a stopped clock by raising your hand high. And 5, for timeouts, you're running a 45-second clock with buzzes at 35 and 45.
You nail these 5 things and you will absolutely master the clock.
So let's end with a classic situation, one that really tests your understanding. A player launches a desperation shot at the end of the game. While that ball is flying through the air, the buzzer, the one you control, goes off. The ball goes in. So does the basket count? The answer is yes. It absolutely counts. And here's why. The crucial thing isn't when the ball goes through the net. It's whether it left the shooter's hand before the clock hit 0. And as the timer, your accuracy defines that exact moment. You see, you don't just watch the game, you get to define its most dramatic endings.